Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you see their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course those king of all, the massive cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. The tomahawks, first it's a steak, and then it's a weapon. It's this massive bone that comes with it. Nonetheless, the best steaks I've ever had, probably the best you'll ever have. Hell, even their Prime Angus and Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. I know I just had a couple of half-pounders, and I'm absolutely packed. All right, folks, make sure you check them out at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your own home or your mobile device. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call and find out what's for dinner, 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935 for UppercutChops.com. An astounding round of applause for everybody over at UppercutChops.com. And what incredible products. I got to tell you, we have a fun show today, and we're going to get to that in just a second. First, we want to welcome in everybody on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast. And that includes everybody from Honolulu all the way to Atlanta and a whole bunch of points in between. Everybody tuning in on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Well, Cable TV, Hotel Television in over 500,000 rooms as well. We have a very special guest. Hell, in fact, let's just go ahead and let her introduce yourself. Go ahead.
Well, thanks for having me, Sal. My name is Ben Brost, and I am one of the voices of stock car racing Midwest, up here in the Midwest, and been around racing my whole life, literally born in January, pushed my first race in a stroller in May, and I've been on a race team for a member of the National Dirt Late Model Hall of Fame, 25 years on the microphone, and having a lot of fun doing it. Thanks for having me.
That's awesome. He says one of the voices of racing. Let's just call him the voice of racing because I don't know anybody else. The only person I knew that was the voice of racing, but for horses, it was the best announcer I've ever heard on a mic. And his name, rest his soul, was Phil Georgieff. Phil Georgieff calling at Arlington Park in Chicagoland, calling at Hawthorne, calling at Sportsman's, calling everywhere. Phil Georgieff was the best of the best with the thoroughbreds. But my friend, I would say that you are one of the top dogs in the voices of racing. How exciting is that? And by the way, I had a chance to get in one of those NASCAR cars. That was a few months ago, a trip down to Florida. And I had never done that kind of thing. I had no respect really for the racing world, just being honest, right? It is what it is. I'm thinking, all right, well, if you can drink a beer and do it at the same time, then it's probably not a sport, right? Because I'm thinking, well, people drink and drive all the time, right? If you know what I mean. So probably not a sport. But anyway, the fact is I got in one of these cars. It was the Mario Andretti and Richard Petty racing experience. And I had Mario Andretti on the show previously, and it was a very cool experience. He explained a lot of great things. And he's one of my heroes as a kid. Because he's an Italian guy just like me, if you know what I mean. Yeah, we got to promote the boys. But anyway, I didn't really understand because I wasn't never in one of those cars. And so I got in this car over at Daytona. I was like a half a mile from the giant stadium they had there. I'm like, well, I at least got to get a picture, I get a tour or whatever. And I talked my way into a free ride. And so I went around about 7 times around the course. The guy said we were going to do about 170. So he said. Well, guess what? We ended up at about 205 a couple of times. And I got to tell you, buddy, I felt like every turn, because he goes, yeah, you're going to feel a little bit of pull on that right turn. I'll have to pull the audio feed up on it because I actually have the video too. Anyway, it turns out that I felt like I was getting sucked out of the car every time we were on a turn on that 31-degree angle. It was unbelievable. But I have a new respect for racers and for any kind of auto racing, whatever the hell it is. I got to tell you, man, what a great experience that was. And you get to call these races. And I suspect that you've been in some of these vehicles too.
Yes, I raced myself for a couple of years. Just oval track stock cars, and I've raced snowmobiles, radio controlled cars. Basically, if it has an engine, a gas pedal, and a steering wheel, we'll have time trials. If there's two of them, we'll race. And we talking about the NASCAR Richard Petty driving experience that you went to. You were pulling probably around 4 Gs when you run around those corners. And at 205 miles an hour, when you're doing that, you're getting 3 Gs back that way. And then when those cars hit the brakes, you're getting 1.5 to 2 Gs going forward. So imagine doing that for 500 miles. That's about 200 laps around Daytona. The average NASCAR Cup driver will lose about between 5 and 10 pounds of water weight during the course of a race. So to say it's not a sport, I would respectfully beg to differ, but I appreciate that you had the experience that you had and a kind of a newfound understanding of what it is that we do. It is an $11 billion a year industry. 48 million people per year go to their local dirt track or asphalt track on a Friday or Saturday night. And it's one big, gigantic family. And I'm very, very, very privileged to play a part in that. I've gotten to narrate and give voice to some very incredible moments throughout my 25-year career.
Good. Give me one of them.
When I was a kid, I grew up with a fellow racer, and we went to the same babysitter. So there's 3, and it was a minister and his wife. They live right next to a church. There's 3 parking lots. That was 3 different racetracks. And we always dreamed that we were going to be racing 1 and 2 on the racetrack when we grew up. Well, his racing career took off, and my racing career really didn't. I found my place on the microphone, so I got to call his first ever feature win. And I remember being on top of the bleachers because I believe that announcers' booths are cages and corded microphones are leashes. I'm there to entertain. I'm there to perform. I'm there to sell what's going on the racetrack to the fans with their marketing partners in hopes to generate more revenue for the race teams, as well as keep the crowd entertained and engaged. So when I got to call his first ever feature win, I was standing on top of the bleachers. I don't remember going down the bleachers, up into the flag tower, into victory lane to go congratulate him and to give voice to that. That was by far my favorite memory so far. That's been one of them.
Pretty exciting when you have something so vivid in your brain and you're like, wow. That's why I said, give me one right now, because we always have that one. And if you hesitated right there, I would have said, you're full of crap, if you know what I mean. A lot of times that thought that you have, it's right there. And it's like you want to talk about it. And hopefully the person that's talking with you will give you the option to talk about it or the opportunity to talk about it. How many times have you been in a dialogue where you're like, oh, everybody watching on TV could be like, yeah, you're like, I'm ready to say something, but no, you can't, because they're too interested in hearing themselves instead of hearing what people like yourself have to say. Hey, tell me what's on your shirt for everybody watching on TV. What does that shirt say?
This says Travis Budaslavich. He is a good friend of mine. He races what's called a dirt late model, which is the same type of car that is right behind me, my background. I've got to know him through the guy right behind me. That's whose picture I was on. And I had the privilege of being his friend. And I've gotten to narrate some very special moments for his career as well. And let me tell you, saying the name Budaslavich on a microphone is way too much fun because you really got to get into it, right? Instead of being just a monotone.
Well, I want to hear it. How would you call it?
Budaslavich.
Yeah, you got to be next to the mic because I'm losing you.
Travis Budaslavich. Actually, I do have one memory with Travis. I was on the microphone for it. And he came through turn 3 and 4 and he passed 4 cars, came to the start finish line, and he had his hand out the window in victory lane. And I had that crowd whipped into such a frenzy. It was coming out of turn 3 and 4 through the inside, up to the outside crossover. Booty Slaughter takes it. And the crowd went nuts. His hand was out the window. I got to go see him in victory lane that night, and he was all smiles. So, and being able to hang out with him and his entire family throughout the summer. Oh, it's good. Like I said, the racing world, the racing community is one big family. I've been in airports. I've been stopped in restaurants. I've been just out in public minding my own business, and I'll get stopped by people and they'll just want to talk racing with me. I had people recently asked to take their picture with me, and in front of the people who I was on a race team with, and they were like, how come I can't get my picture taken? I'm more famous than you. It's like, well, clearly not. But we've had a lot of fun, and there's too many great memories and too many great moments that I've given voice to, and I'm very proud of that. To be able to pick just one or two, it's like picking your favorite kid.
That's great stuff. Well, hey, listen, every parent, contrary to belief, every parent, I don't care what they say, they always have a favorite. They just won't tell the other kids, if you know what I mean, right? And that's usually how that one works. All right, folks, we're going to be back here with Ben Brost, the voice of racing. Folks, if you've been to a dirt track, you've been to any of those backwoods tracks, whatever, this he's basically done it all, whether you've been on pavement or dirt, who knows, maybe even sand. We're going to talk about that in the next segment. Lots more to come here on the Sports Circus. Don't go anywhere. Back in a few minutes.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
800-361-3491. 800-361-3491. 800-361-3491. Again, that's 800-361-3491.
AMP, the multi-format network, is here to help create, produce, distribute, and sell your content. For more information, send a message to info@aamp.tv. That's info@aamp.tv.
Are you a small business owner or pursuing the dream of starting your own company? Do you know where to start or how to grow that existing business? The American Business Trust Company has the answers you need. The American Business Trust Company can help you with startup capital, business strategy, sales and marketing, and establishing your company with a physical location or on the internet. You decide. You bring the idea, the American Business Trust Company can help with the rest. For a free evaluation, you may visit them online at abtrustco.com. That's abtrustco.com, or call them at 657-600-1876. That's the American Business Trust Company, 657-600-1876. Call them today. They can help your business right away.
Come on, you watch the news. Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then if you owe back taxes or haven't filed in a few years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you with the power to collect taxes by any means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even padlock your business. Oh, good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 or more in back taxes and they're coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts at it. That's all they do, and you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
800-908-7016. 800-908-7016. 800-908-7016. That's 800-908-7016.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at Legal Shield, providing legal protection and peace of mind. Legal Shield can help with traffic tickets, texting and driving, DUIs, court appearances, estate planning, even contracts given to people they don't understand, plus a whole lot more. Maybe someone socked you in the mouth and you need an attorney. Contact Legal Shield. Maybe they can help. 213-245-1305. That's 213-245-1305. Again, 213-245-1305. Or check them out online at nocourt.us. That's www.nocourt.us. Or email them at info@nocourt.us. Our friends over at Legal Shield. And of course, a big welcome into everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500, KHKA. That's home of the 49ers, home of the New York Yankees. It's the Yankees radio, as well as the Alabama Crimson Tide. Of course, we say it that way for all of our friends over in Auburn, Alabama, that are listening to us on WAUD. That's 1230 over on the AM dial, and that's also home of the world champion Atlanta Braves. Big hello to our friends over in Atlanta on WDJY 89.1 FM. Hello to our friends over in Lubbock, Texas, that may be listening in on 88.1. That would be KTXT. And can't forget our friends over in Southern California that may be listening in, of course, on NBC News and CNBC Financial, plus all of our other independents from coast to coast, Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Wild Cable Television, Hotel Television, and 500,000 rooms plus, and even the Mars rover as well. All right, so I think we've pretty much got everybody. The one thing we just haven't really had a chance to is talk a lot of racing, and we've had some great racing shows on. In fact, so the racing shows we've had on, buddy, I got to tell you, we've had some great ones from Mario Andretti, right? The king of the king of the king. We've had John Force, the king of the. So we've had the king of the Indy world and et cetera with Andretti, but we've also had the king from the drag racing world with John Force. I mean, really, that's if you're really going to pick two people, one from either one. Have I really picked the right people to represent those sides of the sports? Ben Brost, voice of racing.
You know, in the IndyCar world, it could be said that AJ Foyt right up there with Mario Andretti. In the drag racing side, Kenny Berenstein, Cruz Pedregon, all famous names, but there is nobody else like John Force with those aviator glasses, and he talks a mile a minute. What a personable human being he is, and being able to foster his children's careers and move forward, really making things better for the next generation behind them. Same thing in the Andretti family. Mario, Michael, Marco Andretti, all of those legends in our sport, if you will, to promote the growth of our sport going forward. Yeah, and more I'm thinking about it, you hit the nail on the head with those two, for sure.
Okay, so I've got something for you. Remember I told you in the last segment that I had an experience in one of those NASCAR cars, right? And we talked about that a little bit, right? And so
yes, yep.
The driver, he says that, we're going to do 170 miles an hour, or whatever the heck it is. And so what I did was I put together a video, and I'm going to go ahead and play the audio feed so you can hear this. All right, here I am, folks. In case you think I'm bullshitting you, I'm not. I'm in this car, and here's our crew. There he is. Say hello, everybody. What's your name?
Albert.
Albert.
I'm Greg.
Greg and
Jeremy.
There's Jeremy. All right.
Sir.
We're going to be going how fast?
About 170.
About 170, he says.
Right.
All right, let's kick this thing in the ass. Here we go.
You're going to really feel it in the corner.
Okay. All right, here we go, folks. Live from the Sports Circus. We're NASCAR. Grand Daytona. second gear. There we go, just past the Sunoco side at pit row. We're on the first turn, and we're already doing 130 miles an hour. We haven't even gotten out of the first turn yet. Now he's going to kick in the ass and really get this thing going on the back stretch. Unbelievable. This thing's motoring. And I've never done anything like this before. Ben, I have to tell you, Voice of Racing, this was a ridiculous experience to be able to go that fast in a vehicle like that. I mean, luckily, we were the only ones on the track at that time. I couldn't imagine being out there with 40 of your closest friends or whatever the hell it is, right?
Yeah, could you imagine going 200 miles an hour in the middle of a pack? So you've got 5 guys in front of you. You've got one on your left side or one on your right side, and you've got 4 or 5 people behind you. And in certain spots, you couldn't fit a piece of paper between the car next to you. You're doing
It's
200 miles an hour. Yeah,
I
that much
can't
control.
imagine these guys doing 200 plus. And it's, you know, when you're basically sitting in traffic, but everyone's going at 200. I mean, it's kind of like driving in, I guess, in Southern California. It's usually what it is on the freeway there.
Go downtown Minneapolis, same thing too. And what happens is speed becomes relative. Okay, what I mean by that is if you're looking at something standing still, when you're going 200 miles an hour, you realize that you're going 200 miles an hour. Whereas if you have 40 people around you that you can see, plus you got people in your ears talking to you as spotters, what they call them in the NASCAR world, your movements slow down. Your brain is able to adjust and accommodate toward the speed, and your reaction time actually steps up because your body is at it's the central nervous system going fight or flight, right? So you're going to be in full-on fight mode. So your body is amped up, and you've got all your senses working for you, and it's a test of endurance for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. And for everybody watching on TV, I'm trying to share this so they can kind of see the experience. And what a crazy experience. It's not something that I've been around on a even a somewhat regular basis, but it's maddening to imagine that you can actually get into one of these vehicles and you can actually do this. And so now I've just shared the screen so everybody on television could see this. It's nuts. And when I say it's nuts, folks, believe me, it's every bit of nuts. And you've got to be a lunatic to get into these vehicles and drive that fast in traffic. And the prize money is not nearly as big as it probably should be, for the fact that, in fact, if for everybody watching on TV right now, it's this turn right here that a very popular guy by the name of Earnhardt lost his life. It was right there. In fact, right where I'm hitting you can see the tack. That was, and it showed 100 and look at right. It showed 100 and I don't know, 197, I guess, on that turn. And so that's where I reversed the camera so you can kind of see what it was like. But it was
Wait a minute,
crazy experience, and you can see it, right? Are you watching this on TV?
Yes, I can see it. I'm watching it.
Look at it, and I'm wearing shorts and flip flops, and there it is. Look at it. So it's 190. I'm on the turn right there at 197, right? And we're just hitting the back stretch. And so when I did the video, I mean, the guy goes, well, I don't really know if it's wise to do that video. But I said, well, look, we're going to go ahead and do it anyway. I didn't realize how big that stadium was on top of it. And, Ben, you said with the millions and millions and millions of people that watch, when I walked into Daytona International Raceway, I didn't realize that there was 110,000 seats literally on one side of the stadium. I mean, it's a real reality trip for a guy like me, because I'm used to going to football games. We're going to talk college football maybe in the next segment, but I'm used to watching that kind of a situation with, seats all the way around the stadium. And I know there's a bunch of people on the infield too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there is. And Daytona, they just remodeled the Daytona International Raceway, and I believe it holds 270,000 people, and they'll sell out for the Daytona 500. And then they have a race in July, a night race. that they'll sell out for that too. But
Right.
that track where you went around, so many NASCAR guys that I have talked to said that track is incredibly intimidating when you're looking at it. But when you're on it, it's not nearly as bad. Bristol International Raceway in Tennessee holds 140,000 people, and that's a short little half-mile track. This is 2.5 miles. So a short little half-mile track, and it can hold that many people. They call that the last great Coliseum in racing. And you see some amazing epic battles on not only the super speedways like we see here. Amy Earnhardt was a master of this place, but the short tracks as well. We call it cowboying up or throwing elbows up, because when you're driving your car, you really got to be on the steering wheel. And that's how you can tell. If you ever look at an in-car camera for be it dirt, NASCAR, wherever, if you can see the steering wheel, if the driver is going like this, the car's not handling very well. But if their movements are smooth,
Right. There's a lot of play in the wheel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
that's crazy stuff. I got to tell you, man, what a great experience. And I had to bring that up because that's my experience. And that is what gave me appreciation for the racing world. So here's what we're going to do. We come back from break, maybe talk a little bit more racing. I want to know a little bit more about your background with it, how people could follow you, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to get into all that, but maybe we'll talk a little bit of football because I know you're a football guy too. How about some of that? All right.
I am.
All right, back here with the voice of racing, Ben Brost, in just a few minutes, folks. Here at the Sports Circus. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this commercial right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935, or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
800-361-3491. 800-361-3491. 800-361-3491. Again, that's 800-361-3491.
So, you want to be in show business. Do people tell you that you're really funny, you have a great personality, and you should have your own talk show? Many of us have been told that, but we don't know how to get started. It's easier than you think. Let the pros at Cali Vegas give you a free talent evaluation. Call 949-445-1119 and learn how quickly you can create, produce, and host your very own talk show. Imagine not having to sit in traffic every day, commuting back and forth to the same old boring job. Get started in television or radio today with your free talent evaluation from Cali Vegas. Call 949-445-1119 or visit them online at calivegas.com. Make your dream come true today and create your new career and learn how to become a television or radio star with the help of Cali Vegas. 949-445-1119. Call now.
Folks, welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from the AMP TV studio, WAMP.TV. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at Cali Vegas, helping people create and host their very own radio, TV, or multimedia talk show. Cali Vegas can help with everything they need to get out of sitting in hours of traffic, commuting back and forth to the same old boring job, and then host their very own talk show in their very own home studio. For more information, contact Cali Vegas at 949-445-1119. That's 949-445-1119. 1119 again, 949-445-1119, or check them out online at www.calivegas.com. That's CALI Vegas.com. Just round of applause for them. They've been with us since the very beginning. And a big welcome back to everybody tuning in on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Wow Cable Television, and of course, all of our affiliates, radio, the balance of the television affiliates, or even Hotel TV. Now, folks, imagine this. Ben, listen to this. Ben, we have the voice of racing, Ben Brost, with us. Ben, we are in every metered market in Nielsen and their rating system. I think there's 220-odd markets, if I'm not mistaken. So in all your upscale hotels, your nice places, et cetera, guess what, folks? You could watch the Sports Circus various segments on the program in blocks of 5 minutes and 5 minutes and 5 minutes and 5 minutes until you can't stand it no more. Then we're going to give you another 5 minutes or so. Nonetheless, check us out everywhere, also at thesportscircus.com. And by the way, folks, in case you don't know Ben Brost, he's going to give you a quick rundown of himself. He's going to take about 30 seconds, and also how to follow him as well. Go ahead, Ben.
A little background about me. I started announcing completely by accident with a mechanics race. Also, Sal, I sent you in the chat. I sent you a link to a highlight of my career. So one of the highlights of my career on the microphone, if you want to play it, you certainly are more than welcome to. It was from an inaugural race back in 2017. It was amazing. And I have goosebumps right now, literally right now, just thinking about it and watching it, bring that memory back. I started announcing completely by accident because there was a mechanics race at our local racetrack. My uncles all raced, and I went with my grandma and grandpa to every single race that I possibly could. And they've been my biggest supporters throughout my career, along with my parents and too. But I always say if I announced the opening of a soda can, my grandparents would be there to listen to me and support me. And what happened was all of our cars were loaded up. None of our team was going to race in the mechanics race. So I told my grandpa, I said, I'm going to go sit by grandma in the stands. Well, it was really, really late at night. And I could hear the announcers struggling with their names of the drivers that are on the racetrack. It's not the normal drivers, it's the mechanics, right? So it's the crew chiefs and all that. So I said to my grandma, I said, I'm going to go up to the announcers tower and just kind of point out who's who and things like that, see if I can offer any help. And she looked at me and said, if you do that, I'm crawling under the bleachers and I'm going to kick you or you know what, all the way home. And threatened me with a good time. So I went up there and did that. The announcer said, well, here, have the microphone. I said, what am I supposed to do with that? And they said, announce. And I cracked a couple of jokes, and the rest is history. So it's been 25 years, probably about 150 different racetracks, two different touring series. I've also I've been the on-field announcer for football games. I've been the ring announcer for MMA fights. Basically, anywhere that needs an MC, I'm throw my hat in the ring, if you will.
Oh, all right. So, in fact, we may have a clip of that. Here we go. Let's see if we can get it.
Hey, we're going to bring it back up to green. Here we go.
Below again, going to be air leader Terry Hansen looking at that inside line, but here comes Cole Spacek. Spacek now advances in the second. Mike Keller looking to get to the inside of Hansen. Hansen comes back down, shuts the door on Keller. Keep your eye on the 55 of Maynard. Maynard to the outside. Maynard on that top shelf line, looking good and 55. He's now in a transfer spot. Chad Mater in 55. You're below your leader, full spacing. That was full spacing. Now it's Terry Hansen, but keep your eye on the 55 of Mater. Watch this. What a crossover. Underneath, spacing hits a slide job and spacing coming out of turn 4. Below your leader, Hansen in second. Chad Mater in third after a brilliant piece of driving behind the wheel of his 55. Aaron Lillo has got a bunch of real estate between him and the 25 of Hansen. But again, race fans, keep your eye on the 55 of Mater. Mater now in second. Chad Mater in 55. Chad Mater in 55. At 55 again, finding something that works for him on the top shelf. Eric Maloney, in the straightaway over the hands of the 25. Mike Keller in fourth. Brett Swedberg in fifth. The race fans on your feet for Saturday, your feet feature winner. Ben Brost with Dirt Race Central here talking to, you can go ahead and cut it off now. Chad, obviously a very emotional
That's
night.
pretty exciting stuff. I mean, that I tell you what, folks, if you were watching, if you want to watch this, we'll share this link and you can see this. It was an incredible, crazy drive by this Chad Mater. Oh my goodness.
So here's the significance behind that race. That was his dad, Dwayne. I traveled with them for a couple of years. His dad, Dwayne, got killed, unfortunately, in a work-related accident. So that was the first Dwayne Mater Memorial race. Chad was, the colors on Chad's car was in tribute to his dad's last race car. When he went out to qualify for the qualifying race, he had ignition trouble. So he had to start in the back of what we call a B feature, consolation feature, last chance race. And he had to get into the top two to transfer to the main event, which was the tribute to his dad. So he came out, he started 12th, and there was about 7,000 people in the stands at that racetrack. And the crowd was louder for that qualifying feature. Everybody, and I mean everybody, was behind Chad. It wasn't even the actual feature. It was a qualifying feature. And that right there, that is one of the top two highlights of my career, being able to give voice to that.
Well, you know, after watching that, and it looked like that car was literally on two wheels half of the race. It was crazy. It just drifting around every turn and passing everybody. I mean, look, that's the kind of racing that people get excited about. That looked like a little bull ring, you know, versus one of those massive 1.5 mile tracks or whatever the heck it was. But I mean, that's the kind of stuff like you see on the go-kart tracks. There used to be one in Southern California called Slick Track. It's Slick Track. I don't know if you've ever seen one of those. You probably have because of your racing background. But imagine a bunch of go-karts on a silicone sheeted, like basically you're racing on a sheet of ice. And it was, very exciting. And you're drifting the entire time. And it's very easy to get out of control. But this guy was going at a high rate of speed and somehow passing, 12 vehicles, like you had said, but doing it with such tact as well. I mean, that is a professional driver in every sense of the word. I even talked to Mario Andretti, that is, for all you just tuning in, talking about racing on dirt tracks, because I asked him, one of my questions was the difference in how you approach a race versus a dirt track versus pavement. And he had some very good input on that as well. We don't have time to put that in here, but got to tell you, incredible input. But what a very different game. And isn't it? Tell me real quick, in your opinion, the difference in the strategy for racing on dirt versus pavement.
Well, the dirt late models are completely 100% adjustable. Everything on these cars behind me, they're adjustable, from the rear ends, where they how they link into the actual frame of the car, shock absorbers, obviously tires. Those are the four most important things on a race car. So dirt, it's a little bit more forgiving than asphalt is, because you're sliding. So you can be basically in a controlled slide all the way around the corner. With pavement racing on the blacktop, it's very, very, very precise, and you're measuring in thousands of inches as far as making adjustments and that sort of thing on the race car. Pavement, you have somebody in your ear, you have a crew chief or a spotter. And dirt, you're all alone out there. There's some that will give and receive hand signals to let their driver know what it is that they've got going on out of the racetrack, how far they are ahead, behind, where to go, that sort of thing. And there's But a lot of times that doesn't happen. Some sanctioning bodies say that's illegal. So really, it's a whole mental game. It really is.
So what about racing boats? Do we know anything about racing boats? Have you called any boat races?
I have not called any boat races, but it's funny, different, different types of racers, be it open wheel winged sprint cars, IndyCar, stock car, late model. We all kind of friendly banter with each other. Like those guys aren't really wired right, you know. Oh, you're insane for racing a boat. Well, you're dumb for, you know, going around, going in a circle, turning a bunch of money into a bunch of noise. But racing boats, I've never called that. I did call a watercross race. That's snowmobiles on open water. I've called one of those before. That was a blast.
He said watercross. I want to know a little bit more about that. Not on this program because we don't really have time. But I got to tell you, we could do this for a week straight and probably not cover the same things. It's unbelievable. So when we come back from break, maybe we'll talk a little pro football because I know you are a football guy. You like fantasy football as well, like a lot of us as well. So maybe you can poke at your friends and your other colleagues. And I know you want to win because that's what we play to do. We don't play to participate. We play to win. Like Ricky Bobby says, you're either first or last. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
I love that movie.
Listen, that's my reference to everything racing is Talladega Nights. That's it. All right, folks, we're going to be back here. We're going to be back here with the voice of racing. That would be Ben Brost. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come here on the Sports Circus. Back in a few minutes.
You don't sit behind a desk every day to earn a living. You're out and about making it happen. And sometimes you get a little bit behind on your paperwork, like bookkeeping and paying your taxes. It's easy to get behind on paying your taxes. It happens to the best of us. And you know what happens next. The big bad IRS comes knocking on your door. And when that happens, you need to call the good old boys at the Tax Doctor. Let them do what they do best, deal and negotiate with the IRS so you pay the lowest you can in back taxes that the law allows. We are a 100% U.S.-based company, and we've saved our clients millions over the years in back taxes. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, call my friends right now at the Tax Doctor and learn more.
800-989-1694. 800-989-1694. 800-989-1694. That's 800-989-1694.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
800-361-3491. 800-361-3491. 800-361-3491. Again, that's 800-361-3491.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door. store without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.
Eight-time Grammy Award winner, top 100 greatest drummers of all time.
Kenny Aronoff with John Fogerty, Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, Elton John, Stevie Wonder, Dave Grohl, Joe Walsh, John Mellencamp.
John Detty, drummer for Slayer, Anthrax, Testament, Volbeat.
Mitch Malloy, and lead singer of Great White.
Pete Thorne with Chris Cornell, Melissa Etheridge.
Rob Mount, drums with Lou Gramm.
Philip Schaus, I play guitar with Accept. I play bass guitar for Ace Frehley.
Todd Morris, The Offspring.
Ty Dennis, The Doors.
Eric Aldenius, from Bill Adams.
Red Jones, bass player for Vontae. Steelheart, Fuel. Michael Shaker Group.
Brian Trock.
Scotty McClellan.
Chris Christian.
Four-time Grammy Award winner.
Heidi Merrill.
Vince Van Patten.
Daniel Negreanu.
Greg Fossilman Raymer.
Billy Hayes.
Foz Davis.
Rashad Phillips.
Dr. Kristen Willemeyer.
NASA astronaut. Mike Millay.
Anthony Davis.
George Stark. Dwayne Starks.
Brian Mitchell.
Rick Upchurch.
Willie Rofe.
Jim Fossil.
Chief Schrader. Pepper Johnson.
Andre Bad Moon, a.k.a. Rise.
Brian Jordan.
Bill Romanowski.
Dwight Hicks.
Jason McKee. Michael Keller.
Fred Mitchell.
Tim Rando.
Tom Brenneman.
Barry Katz.
Brad Williams. Dean Edwards.
Emmett Short.
Jason Acevedo.
It's Christina Smith.
Bruce Nahan.
Lee Haney. Rick Barry. Cowboy Ninja. Lance Peakus.
Ansel Williams.
Don Most here.
Kevin Sorbo here.
Yes.
Bruce Perlowan, founder, Marijuana Inc., Medical Marijuana Inc., Hemp Inc.
Ronnie Nunn.
Belgian Henderson.
Jack Llewellyn, board psychologist.
Susie Helmaker.
Alexander Bardot Pinto.
Bill O'Brien.
Brad Server, grandson of Curly Howard from the Three Stooges.
Chris Kemper.
Aaron Rowan.
Art Kushner.
Jose Rio in the house.
Greg Olson.
Pat Joyce. Jim Lambert. Brad Coleman.
Burst. Santana Moss.
Vance Johnson.
Donnie Shale.
Eddie Murray.
Wesley Woodyard.
Dexter Irvin. Colin Fraser. Andrew Ladd.
Justin Penner.
Brian Killingsworth.
Bart Oates. Don Horn. Ryan McNeil.
Ron Kirkland.
Chucky Okobe.
Jackie Sherrill. Eddie Meter.
EJ Speed.
Jesse Wooten. Dave Merhar.
Steve Todd. Bob Grant.
Dan Pastorini. Mark Fleming.
Brad Hopkins.
Lee Steinberg. Steve Watson. Dan Vincent. Mitzi Dolan. Karen Laurie.
Bo Campbell.
Len Elmore.
Turkey Brown. Aubrey Hunt.
Chuck Joe.
John Nyland. Mandy Van Slyke. Matt Starr. Dr. George Gauthier.
Barry Sher.
Jesse Sapolo. Dana Stubblefield.
Jeff Rago.
Jeff Jager.
Gino Toretta.
Jim O'Brien.
Jerry Justin. JT Thompson. Jim Everett. John McLaren.
Brad Boone. Mel Stoudemire.
Alan Massengale. Francisco Dolphin.
Kurt Sandoval.
Mac Garcia.
Bailey Brom. Leonard Marshall. Gary Reasons.
Doug Plank.
Everson Walls.
Jim McNally. Shemmy Schembeckler.
Kurt Walk. Leroy Irvin.
Icky Wood. Tyrone Poole.
Alicia Thompson. Chris Stuhonker. Scott Petrick. Bruce Crampton. Bush Bear. Joe Koff. Kristen Rhodes.
John Gisco.
Mayor Carolyn Goodman. I'm sure you get the point, folks. You've been listening to that for the last couple of minutes. And of course, this is what we do here on the Sports Circus. And of course, Ben Brost, the voice of racing, is going to be added to that illustrious list. It's very exciting. In fact, a nice round of applause for Ben. Ben has certainly earned his stripes, and he's, I guess, I don't know if what you'd call them around a racetrack. They're not necessarily stripes. Maybe they're loops. What do you call them?
We would say earn your stripes. Definitely, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, earn your stripes. It's racing it's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it, right? Even being a fan, there's devotion when it comes to being a fan, and our fans are absolutely rabid. I would put race fans up against the most die-hard Packer fans that are out there, and
and of course you had to add Packers, didn't you? Come on, man. Why do you got to do that? And I'm a Bears guy, but actually on that list that you just heard, there was a couple of Packer Hall of Famers in there. And as a matter of fact, friends of the Sports Circus, Marv Fleming, you may remember that name, right? From the first couple of Super Bowls. And you may remember a guy by the name of Dave Robinson, another Hall of Famer there. Don Horn is also on there. He was a quarterback during the Ice Bowl, Super Bowl II champion. And on we go. We have a lot of Packer friends, of course, for the Sports Circus. We like to poke at them a little bit just because it's fun. But generally speaking, the guys have been really good. And what we do here on this program is very different, whether it's racing or whether it's business. And you've heard guys like Kevin Sorbo. Kevin's been on a couple of times, basketball Hall of Famers, Rick Barry, John Stockton, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't matter where you have billionaire Jeff Hoffman. Jeff was a great guy with great stories for this program, and you're going to be added to that amazing list because you have certainly earned your stripes, Mr. Ben Brost. By the way, I understand that a lot of people are watching here on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Wild Cable TV. Thanks for joining us. Also, everybody on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates. Thanks for joining us as well. Also in Hotel TV. Everybody streaming on Instagram, Facebook, and AmpTV, AAMP.tv. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow as well. All right, so how about, since we had a bunch of football names in that list, and hell, we actually had to cut it short. We had 2 more minutes of that. But what we'll do is I'm going to mention something about fantasy football, because I think you're a little bit interested in fantasy football, aren't you?
Well, first off, it is an absolute honor and a privilege, and I'm very humbled to be added to that list. I really appreciate you saying that I earned my stripes. It's something that I continue to strive for every day. Excellence in not only in my day job, but also my passion, my way of life, being a podcast host, being an announcer at racetracks, on a race team, any of that stuff. We try very, very hard to do that, to be the best that I can be. And I want to thank you very, very much. That list is absolutely insane. And for this dummy from a small town in northern Wisconsin to be added to that list, I couldn't be more honored and humbled. So thank you for that. But yeah, I am a bit of a fantasy football guy. I've participated in, I want to say 7 different leagues over the course of the years. And this league this year, a bunch of my friends and I, we are big on traditions, right? So we get together every year, for example, for WWE WrestleMania, okay? And it's more so just about us getting together and not really, like last year, none of us really paid attention to the program except for when Stone Cold Steve Austin was out there doing his beer bash, because it took us all back to when we were about 19 years old. But anyway, so we all talk a lot of smack to each other, right? And that's what fantasy football is truly all about. So this year we got a little bit of money on the line. And one of the guys, we're all drafting running backs and wide receivers, right? One of the guys all of a sudden grabbed a quarterback like in round 2. And it just set everybody off to start grabbing quarterbacks. And thankfully, I got my boy, Aaron Rodgers. I got to meet him, actually. Super humble, great human being. Wonderful man to be around, just really pleasant. And it's I'm glad to have him leading my fantasy team, as well as leading our beloved 13-time world champion Green Bay Packers to hopefully another Super Bowl, so Aaron Rodgers can get a ring on his other hand. So I'm excited about that. So he's my quarterback.
Okay. All right. So Aaron is your quarterback.
DeAndre Swift, I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do. He was the first running back that I drafted, and Motor City Dan Campbell, I think he's going to find something this year. I really, the Lions, they've been a perpetual underdog for most of my life. I think they've won 2 playoff games in like the past 30 years or something. So it's a little bit of sentimentality, because you look at Dan Campbell, he's a guy, right? He's a guy who just knows a lot about football, and he's a great leader. And so, yeah, looking forward to seeing what happens with him. Alvin Kamara, he's another one of my running backs. Excited to, I'm just looking forward to football, man. This time of year is great, especially for us in the racing world, because September is what we call the month of money, right? So there's a lot of races going on. But when it comes to that time of year in September and football comes around, we love it. And the reason why we love it is because we all get to travel. And then when we're on the road racing, we get to watch football. But other times of the year, we have a lot of times we will just be talking about it as well. So when it does happen, when football season does start and it does get going some, it makes for great conversation in and around the racetracks as well, believe it or not.
Well, football used to be just 4 months out of the year, but now it's all the way around the year. I mean, there's all kinds of events going on in the football world from the springtime. We think about the draft, and then we have our camps and different times of the year, et cetera. There's all kinds of stuff going on. And then, of course, we have the CFL, which has been around for a very long time. And you also have what? You have what the USFL. I think they should bring all these leagues together because there's a lot of spots on the roster that are being fought for, but there's a lot of great talent that's being left off, even on the taxi squads. And so there's got to be spots for all these other players. And I would love to see a merger, at least of the Canadian Football League and the NFL. I mean, we saw that with the AFL and the NFL 100 years ago, whatever. That was more like 50 years ago, 60 years ago, whatever the case. My point is, there are roster spots for everybody, and I would love to see that actually happen because the CFL has 8 teams that can join the NFL, and those boys can play, make no mistakes. A lot of those guys can play just as well as the guys in the NFL, and they have great rules, but we don't have time. Maybe on another show, we'll talk about that. Hey, listen, we've got a couple of minutes left here, and I want to make sure that everybody knows how to follow you, where they could go and see you, where they could get your T-shirts. You have a cool T-shirt on right there. Tell everybody about everything about Ben Brost, the voice of racing, in the next minute or so, and we'll take her from there.
Real quick, what's your take on the rumblings going around with your Chicago Bears moving out of the city of Chicago into Arlington Heights? That's been a rumor that's been flying around forever.
The Bears are moving, period. They're moving. The team will be sold. That's what's going to happen. Then the Bears will start to be a decent team again. But until that point, they smell.
Fair enough. Well, the best way to find me is quite simply at your local racetrack. Chances are have been there. Somebody there has heard of me. There's a lot of clips out there, and watchdrc.tv. I'm on Facebook. You can look me up just with my name, Ben Brost, and it's a picture of me in this really cute blonde that for some reason I think she lost a bet. That's my girlfriend. And also I'm on Twitter at Announcer Ben. I don't post a ton on there, but I'm going to be starting here pretty soon with some other business ventures that I'm involved in. And I am a co-host on a podcast as well. So if you don't mind, shameless plug, can I plug my podcast if that's all right? So I'm one of 4 co-hosts. There's three racers and then myself, and it's Built to Media. Look up Built to the number 2 Media. And if you want to hear me talk a little bit more about my career, my life, I'm episode number 35 as a guest, and they liked me so much they brought me back for episode 40, and then I joined up with them full time, so to speak, starting in episode 57. So we have a lot of fun going back and forth talking about not only motorsports but football, baseball, business, whatever we can talk about, whatever the hot topic is of the day. So yeah, that's where you can find me, and I will be hopefully launching a little bit more of a public platform for the Ben Brost brand, so to speak, here before too long. When that happens, that'll be pushed out to all the major social media platforms.
All right, that's good stuff. That would be Ben Brost, ladies and gentlemen, the voice of racing. Thanks for joining us today here on the Sports Circus. It's always something different. You never know we're going to bring Ben back. See if I can spit that one back out. All right, you ready for this? We're going to bring Ben back onto the program just because the audience reaction has been fantastic, and I'm intrigued. I like it. And you have the same voice as that motorcycle guy from Every Which Way But Loose, too. One of the greatest movies of all time. All right, folks, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. All right, I'm your Ringmaster Sal, and we're going to see you in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. So until then, for Ben Brost, I'm your Ringmaster Sal. So long, everyone.
Business owner or pursuing the dream of starting your own company? Do you know where to start or how to grow that existing business? The American Business Trust Company has the answers you need. The American Business Trust Company can help you start up with capital, business strategy, sales, and marketing, and establish your company with a physical location or an online presence on the internet. You decide. You bring the idea. Then American Business Trust can help with the rest. For a free evaluation, visit them online at abtrustco.com. That's abtrustco.com. Or call them at 657 600 1876. That's American Business Trust Company. 657 600 1876. Call them today. They'll help your business right away. That's American Business Trust Company. Online at abtrustco.com. American Business Trust Company.